Die.
Trust me, you filthy, dirty hippie. You don't want to be doing that.
Let me make things nice and sparkling clear. Michael Myers is fucking dead. D-E-A-D.
When you work within a horror franchise that is high profile, the spotlight shining on you can be extremely bright. Add to the fact that said franchise has spanned decades and delivered to us the icon Michael Audrey Myers, then you know that you're in the big time. Enter Rob Zombie. His participation as director has been a roller coaster of a ride. He was first tasked with remaking Halloween in 2007.
I'm gonna cut that mask right off your face.
It came with positive and not so positive reaction from fans. Introducing a full-fledged backstory to Michael was extremely risky and pushed upon one of the hallmarks of the boogeyman's mythology: mystery. Rob Zombie went in a different direction from Carpenter's 1978 setup and multiple films that followed it. Once Malek Akkad established a rule dictating that the rules of the past, specifically John Carpenter-isms, were gone, and that Zombie had free reign to do whatever he wanted, Zombie couldn't say no. Now tasked with doing a sequel that he originally didn't want to necessarily do, the question is, would Halloween fans follow and accept his vision, or be clouded by their own mental white horse as Michael was?
Let's get down to brass tacks.
In this Why You Hate video. And by the way, I recently did a Why You Hate Dawn of the Dead 2004, The Fly, and many, many more. Check them out if you haven't already, or if you need some fun and a good horror discussion, check them out again. It's not going to hurt, I promise.
So fuck your shit up, boy.
Also, if you would personally like to help me decide new episodes and much more while supporting this channel, join our channel membership by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. It's a member perk for our movie fanatics level and higher. You know you're a movie fanatic. We all are. So as I was saying, I'm going to go over reasons why some fans have issues with Halloween 2, 2009, including multiple things that I know will be a strong debate in this community for the lovers of this film and the detractors of it. I will also attempt, if at all possible, to show how some issues might not hold as much weight as they seem. So get ready to make money off of the misery of others, freak out on your best friend and any other humans in your vicinity, get your hobo coat and your favorite donation cup, and purposefully don't wear your mask. Here are the reasons why you hate Halloween 2, 2009. Number 1. Fake great. Due to his miserable experience working with the Weinsteins on his Halloween films, Rob Zombie has disowned them, especially the second one, which, according to him, had even worse studio interference. The first was a miserable experience for me, he said, and so I was very reticent to do the second one. I did do the second one, and I thought, okay, well, the first one was a miserable experience, but it did well, so maybe it'll be easier the second time. It was worse. Oh my God. I felt like they weren't trusting me on the first one because they wanted to make sure it was a hit, and now they were trusting me not to fuck up their hit. They would show me scenes from Halloween 2007 and try to make a point, and I'd be like, yeah, I know, I made that movie. Why do you show me that like I've never seen it before? End quote. The movie starts off with the events following Halloween 2007. In that first film, at the end, Laurie had her big confrontation with Michael as she pointed the gun at him. Before she could shoot him 6 times, he ran at her like a track star to push her off the balcony. I know. Michael is usually the fastest slow walker of all time, but in Rob Zombie's world, he runs. Last that we saw was Laurie shooting Michael in the face and screaming her little butt off. Now, the original idea, according to Zombie, was Michael was shot in the head and killed, period, dead, no sequel, but the studio decided to make the sequel anyway. H2 shows her walking down the street in a total haze. Brackett finds her and it's time for a serious episode of ER. Homegirl went through the ringer and needed to be put back together again like Humpty Dumpty. The realistic depiction of her surgery was well done, and you could literally feel her pain in each shot. We see her visit Annie, and then walking down the hall. And then, guess what? Michael is there. He destroys the nurse. See you later, Octavia. With ruthless aggression. And I'm talking about grunts, anger, and intensity like you wouldn't believe. Laurie, you better get out of there. I don't care that you only have one leg. Hop along, little girl. To her credit, she gets down the stairs. The bad thing, though, is that she eventually falls into a dumpster of dead bodies. What? Where did that come from? This is definitely some horrific imagery. Scout Taylor Compton did a great job with her portrayal. The shack in the rainstorm visually works very well. Because of a schedule and location change, that was an actual rainstorm that they were in. And then we get to Buddy. Poor Buddy. He isn't ready for this life. He has no idea that the little girl that he just saved has the literal physical manifestation of death coming right after him. Goodbye, Buddy. It's been real.
And you blew it! You blew it!
Michael is so angry in this scene ravaging against the shack that you actually believe he could destroy it. I'm talking Incredible Hulk level shit. But wait, he actually does break in, and it's a dream. What is this? Is this a Nightmare on Elm Street? The opening was so well done and awesome. 25 minutes of fake great. Obviously an homage to 1981's Halloween 2 with a chase in the hospital. Maybe? Although Rob Zombie denies it, even going so far as to say he was not a fan of Halloween 2 from 1981. Damn, man. Really? Many were frustrated and disappointed that this was only a dream, or nightmare, or whatever you want to call it. Make no mistake, I understand the perspective, and I find it interesting that Rob chose to do it. Ultimately, the opening was as close to a Halloween film that H2 gets. Everything from here on out, for better or for worse, is truly Rob Zombie's interpretation of a Halloween sequel in his universe, and that will lead us into some interesting talking points coming up. Take your coats off, people, and get comfortable. Number 2, happy people. As usual, Rob Zombie finds a way to make his characters show the kinder, gentler side of human decency and compassion. H2 is the shining beacon of hope and will absolutely make anyone feel better and more positive about their life. Okay, so maybe I'm stretching the truth with that. Okay, so it's total bullshit.
Inconceivable!
There are so many characters that are on the edge of bleak oblivion that you better make sure that you're anchored up so that you can stay sane. The EMT scene starts us off on the right foot. As usual, the conversation plummets off the cliff into tasteless talk and disgusting banter. They are transporting Michael, but to be honest, this scene is beyond needless, or at least we don't need multiple minutes of these guys. When they hit the cow, and then we get the famous F-bomb 7 times in a row, yeah, you know this is great stuff. Now, let's take a trip back to Genius University, folks. Did you know that the word fuck and its derivatives are used 112 times in the film? By that calculation, Rob was underperforming because I was sure that we would hit 200 times.
And you blew it! You blew it!
Laurie was absolutely wrapped in darkness throughout this film. Dealing with the trauma of the previous film, she is barely recognizable from past iterations in the franchise. I mean, she is the protagonist of the film. We're supposed to be following her. We want to root for her. but it looks as though she doesn't want anything to do with anybody. The person we root for and hope that Michael doesn't kill? It is extremely difficult to see her so negative throughout the runtime. I must admit, it gave Scout a ton of material to work with as an actress, and she does an absolute fantastic job with her portrayal, but her Laurie in this film is not easy to stomach whatsoever. Zombie also acknowledged this too. He said that, quote, "She's an incredible mess and gets worse. She never has any good moments. She's just messed up. She's lashing out at everyone. She's horrible. Messed up on drugs. She just completely spun out through the whole movie. It makes for a real challenging movie to watch, and I feel like I don't know if fans would have embraced so much darkness." End quote. These moments were therefore cut for the theatrical version to show Laurie, quote unquote, holding it together, getting her life together, and it starts spiraling downward, end quote. In the unrated director's cut, these scenes have been restored together with the original ending where Laurie turns completely psychotic and gets shot and killed by the police along with Michael Myers. Another interesting fun fact is the decision to give Laurie the name Angel as her real name was meant to emphasize her as the extreme opposite to Michael. Laurie Strode's birth name in the original films was Cynthia Myers. The change of Laurie as a character from 2007 to H2 is huge. Her dialogue and demeanor is beyond radical. Danielle Harris's Annie is as fed up with her as the audience is, a shining example of what the Halloween franchise could be. Some people actually love this interpretation and find it fresh, and I can understand that. But in my opinion, these things are way too extreme for what Halloween is meant to be. Number 3, Loomis. This is legendary actor Malcolm McDowell. He is reprising his role from Halloween 2007. It is said that he was Dr. Loomis. I didn't see Dr. Loomis in any of this movie until like the last 2 minutes. I'm just saying. In this sequel, the character of Loomis is changed as well. He is a money-hungry, douchebag master, no conscience wearing, the kind that kicks a cat on the street asshole that is not even integral to the story. No helping anyone, no hunting Michael, no great moments of dialogue and chemistry, no trust, no inspiration. Liar. Many people have issues with this depiction, and I am in the front seat of this ride with them. Fun fact, while writing Sam Loomis for the sequel, Rob Zombie based his egotistical and self-absorbed personality on Dr. Phil and his talk show. I get that Rob Zombie and Malcolm wanted to change up the character and show something different, show some real-world outcomes of the rampage of Michael that went on in the first movie, but I don't think it was the best idea to make a character that represented decency and heroic standards into a jerk. It just didn't make much sense story-wise. I mean, in this film, who are we following? Who do we care about? Even in the first film, he was a good doctor who showed professionalism and caring even for a monster like Michael. The scenes at Smith's Grove were so well done, and Malcolm brought a tenderness to the role which elevated it. He of course also hunted Michael and tried to save Laurie. H2 could have gone in a different direction Zombie wanted, with no Loomis at all. Number 4, Giddy Up. Though the film opens with an explanation for the meaning of Michael's toy white horse, and it frequently appears alongside his mother in his hallucinations, Rob Zombie has said it doesn't really have any deeper meaning than what is already established in the film. To counter the many fan theories trying to explain its significance, the toy horse is simply a representation of Michael's lost innocence and nothing more, as it's a toy from his once happy childhood. According to Zombie, he picked a white horse as it was more cinematic, and that it really could have been anything else instead, including a fire truck engine. We see Michael's vision of the white horse and his mother Deborah, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, several times in the film. I understand that it represents lost innocence, but to have it be shown so many times and have Deborah portrayed as she was definitely was ridiculous. It also diminishes the great work and energy that Sherry gave the character in the first film. She was a mother that truly loved Michael. To see her in the manner here that we were shown did nothing positive in my humble opinion. I know that this is in Michael's mind and what he sees, but again, it's something that doesn't really add to his character or the film at all. She's spouting out whacked out rhetoric that was cringe and not even needed. When she says stuff like, "We're done waiting, only a river of blood can bring us back together. It's up to you. It's always been up to you, Michael." I'm like, what? Vindictive, fruitless, sadistic, super pale as well. Unnecessary. That's what Deborah is in H2. Case closed. Number 5. Hobo time. You knew that this was coming. If you've ever been on this channel, you know what time it is. It's time to get your barely there mask, or not, your trusty hobo coat, your donation cup, and let's all go panhandling through Haddonfield together. The iconic villain that Michael is has a drastically different look in H2. Hell, it's drastically different than it was in Halloween 2007. There are fans that love the Hobo Myers. Then there are some, and I am a part of that group, that hate it. Why make him a hobo? I mean, times are tough on the streets of Haddonfield, but come on. Now some fans will say it makes sense for him to dress up warm in the fall weather and beyond with that amazing and stylish hobo coat as he wanders the land with no mask, panhandling wherever he can.
Yay!
My opinion is those things don't even need to be shown. In all of the other films in the franchise, and other slasher films in general, you don't see the villain strolling around, and I'm looking at you in a violent nature. You don't see them cooking breakfast, and you damn sure don't see them taking a dump. These are things that are unnecessary to the film. Add to the fact that shouldn't Michael have been seen by the wrong person, like those guys that tried to beat him up? Shouldn't someone have reported him to the police? We've got a 7-foot hobo walking around eating dogs. Let's run his license. One of the most signature things about Michael Myers is his bland basic coveralls and his mask. For better or for worse, and I'm looking at you, Halloween 5. Oh, and also the CGI mask in H2O. Even in those films, at least he had a mask and resembled Myers. This Michael went to the street version of Goodwill and got decked out in hobo gear. He isn't looking like the shape of a man. He doesn't look like he could appear out of the darkness as a specter with only a white mask visible. Rob Zombie wanted to make his version stand out, and I get that, but I feel that this is the definition of the wrong way. An update to the look is fine, but could have still been related to what the character is. For example, when Freddy Krueger was redesigned for New Nightmare, that actually worked because the character was still what Freddy was known as. He had the sweater, the fedora, and the claws. It was just a bit of a slicker version, plus he had that pimp coat. Good job, Wes. Good job. Imagine if Freddy was dressed up in a hobo coat with a hood and no red and green sweater. Maybe it's just a gray sweater. The Elm Street fan base would riot. My point in all of this is just that the hobo look takes even more away from the mystique of the boogeyman. Do you enjoy this look of Michael?
Filthy, dirty hippie.
Be honest. And by the way, if enough viewers are fans of this look, I will personally head out over to the fields and give him $1.15 for his donation cup. Let's help out that hobo. Number 6, the finale. Laurie runs from Michael, and a guy in a car picks her up. All of a sudden, Michael comes out of nowhere, and then he does what I thought was impossible. He pulls a Lou Ferrigno and lifts up the car. Now, I'm just saying, there are a lot of fans that want an Incredible Hulk movie. Here's your guy, Marvel. Here's your guy. Michael, is taking orders from his mother and abducts Lori. It is at this point that you're trying to figure out, what are we doing here? Is he gonna kill her, or is he gonna Netflix and chill with her? We head to the hobo shack, and this whole scene makes no goddamn sense. Maybe that is what Zombie wanted to show, just how crazy that Lori is at this point, because she's seeing visions of Deborah and young Michael. Specifically in her mind, young Michael was holding her down. Brackett and the cops head out to the shack to take care of business, and all of a sudden, we get a scene of Loomis overhearing a news report in his hotel room about Michael abducting Lori, and he heads out to help. His character has no real reason to be in the movie, and now all of a sudden he is ready to be a hero. Loomis runs to the shack and tries to wake Lori out of her psychosis. Hobo bum rushes Loomis through the wall, and this is it, folks. Take your coats off and get comfortable again. Hobo takes off his mask for whatever reason. It wasn't really there anyways. You could see 3/4 of his face. He stares at Loomis and decides that it is time to bless the world with his voice. He yells, "Die." Die! While stabbing Loomis with his hunting sword. The cops finally decided to intervene and shoot Michael not 6 times, but 60 times. He's getting lit up almost as bad as Crystal Lake's champ in Jason Goes to Hell. And you know he did. I will say at least he didn't do all that grunting that Jason did. Who knew? All the while, Lori comes out of the shack dazed and confused. She picks up Michael's knife, walks over to Loomis, and at this point you realize that she has become the villain. Things were going to get bad, and we all knew it. The cops start to shoot her, and the final bell rings. She's down, Loomis is down, Hobo is down. The final thing we see is a bare white room, and our protagonist, our final girl, our Laurie Strode, is sitting on a bed. The camera is on her face as she slowly cracks an insane smile, reminiscent of the end of Psycho with Norman Bates. It's actually a really good moment, and also a stark contrast to what we would expect from Laurie. A great job done by Scout Taylor Compton. Poor Laurie, she was losing throughout this entire movie. No sanity, no redemption, no hope, just devastation. Rob Zombie finishes his story with unparalleled doom. In the unrated director's cut commentary track, Rob Zombie states that the finale is his originally intended ending, where all 3 main characters die. The final scene from the theatrical cut, where Laurie ends up in a psychiatric ward, was still added as a coda, but Zombie confirms that in the director's cut, this is in fact Laurie's last thought before dying. While many mistake it for meaning, she is still alive but psychotic. Another interesting point is that Rob Zombie is no fan of endless sequels. He said, quote, "I feel like there's never a definitive ending anymore. Every movie ends with the possibility of another one, and it drives me crazy." In his original version of Halloween 2, he had nearly every main character killed off at the end, including Michael Myers, Loomis, and Laurie, to finally ensure that another film could not be made. This ending is kept in the director's cut. However, Dimension Films forced him to film an ending where Laurie survives because they still planned a 3rd film together with producer Malika Akkad. So Zombie walked away, not wanting to be involved any longer. Halloween 2 ultimately underperformed financially and was disliked by fans and critics alike, casting a doubt on a sequel. At one point though, Patrick Lussier was hired to direct it. He managed to talk Tyler Mane into returning as Michael, but after years of disagreement, Between producers, potential writers, directors, and the studio, the failure to produce a film meant Dimension Films / the Weinstein Company lost the rights to Universal Pictures and Blumhouse, resulting in Halloween from 2018, a continuation of the original Halloween from 1978. At the end of the day, Halloween 2 crazily rocked horror like Hobo Myers at the Rabbit in Red strip club, and we as fans must deal with it in our own way. You have to ask yourself, is this different take for a Halloween film refreshing, or did Rob Zombie go too far in his own twisted lane? That is a question only you can answer. As always, this video is not here to make you love Halloween 2 or to hate it. It's simply a discussion to highlight the history and aspects of it with you, the viewer. So what do you think? Are you a fan of Halloween 2? If so, tell us why. If not, let's discuss why you hate Halloween 2. If you haven't hit the like button for more content, please do. If you're not subbed to the Nightwatch Zone, this is the time to do it. Do it and become part of this fantastic movie community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. If you like this video, check out my other Why You Hate videos and other content here, and I'll see you there. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Nightwatch. Peace.